Can you spot the issue with this pipe? Most people can't. Today, we're going to talk about the 10 most common plumbing code violations. And number one is improper slope on drain lines. Drain lines that don't have the correct slope can lead to clogs and poor drainage. Code typically requires a 1/4 inch per foot slope for proper flow. Now, this is funny. I remember one of the first times that I was running a project and went out for the inspection, and I hollered at my apprentice and told my apprentice, I said, look, go to the trailer, get me my 2-foot level. And the apprentice came back out, and me and the inspector are walking, and the inspector kind of stops and looks at something and hops over the pipe, looks at it another way, and the apprentice is all eager, and he's like, hey, do you want the level? And he says, no, sir. He says, I was just looking to see if I saw any water there. He said, I don't. He said, young man, let me tell you something. He said, do you see the way the letters are turned up on this pipe and they all face the same direction? And he said, yeah, Roger's kind of a stickler about that. He said, well, trust me, anybody that puts in pipe like this gets their fall right. And he was right, man. I paid attention to detail. So getting the proper fall is a big deal, and that happens in the very beginning. Number two, unvented traps. Failing to vent traps properly can result in sewer gases entering the home, which is both unpleasant and hazardous. Now, improper vents are bad. If there's not a vent, or the vent's clogged, or it wasn't ran right, now it's got water in it, there's a lot of different things that can make that happen, but it can cause that P-trap to dry out if there is a P-trap. So unvented, it's not a good way to do it. And the more you do plumbing, if you're a plumber, the more you want to look at is your fall right all the way up through the roof. That way any water getting in it doesn't clog it up and basically make the vent ineffective. Number three, incorrect pipe size for drains. Using pipes that are too small can lead to slow drainage and increased clogs. Drain pipes must be sized correctly to handle the flow from fixtures. Now, when you're first getting into this, you're going to use that formula. You're going to look at the chart to see how many fixture units are you trying to drain, how big does the pipe need to be, different things like that. So you want to make sure that you never undersize your drain pipes. It's going to lead to problems down the road. And if your inspectors are doing things right, you're not going to pass inspection to begin with. Number four, lack of backflow prevention. Not installing backflow prevention devices can allow contaminated water to flow back into the clean. Now, here's the thing here. This is dangerous. If you don't have backflow preventers where you need them, you can literally draw chemicals, bad chemicals, into the public water system. You want to make sure that if a backflow is required, you've got the right one for that situation, for that installation. And believe it or not, you want to get them inspected annually to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do. Number five, wrong type of pipe material. Using incompatible or non-code approved pipe materials, such as using galvanized steel with copper, can lead to corrosion and leaks. And that's something you don't want, whether it's underground, in the walls, or whatever it is. Number six, improperly installed shutoff valves. Valves that are hard to reach or not installed at all can be problematic in emergencies when water needs to be shut off quickly. And guys, if you're a homeowner and you've got an old gate valve, it's probably too late. But from the very beginning, you should have been servicing that valve, just running it through its cycle about once every 6 months, maybe a year. I've gone to some houses that had a valve that had froze up. As soon as you started turning it, you knew this valve isn't working. And what it would do is it would push that paddle all the way down to shut off the water, but then the ends of it were stripped out. What I ended up having to do at that time, this is an emergency call, middle of the night. I literally had to take apart the valve, pull the gate out, put the valve back together, turn the water on at the meter. That way it would flow through the house and they wouldn't be without water. So be very careful if you've got these old valves. Service them from the very beginning if you can, to make sure that they do what they're supposed to do. And if you're a plumber, remember, when you go out to these houses, it's always going to be a smart idea, if you have to operate a valve like that, to let them know, look, I need to close this valve, but it looks old and I don't know that it's been serviced. It may not open back up. And once I close it, we may have to replace it. That way they understand there may be a cost involved. Number 7, no cleanouts for drains. Not providing cleanouts in the plumbing system can make maintenance and clearing clogs much harder than it needs to be. Lack of cleanouts is a tough one. We specialized in slab leaks, leak detection, sewer isolation, things like that. You have to have a good double cleanout, a double combo cleanout in order to test that right. You need to be able to put a test ball right between them. You need to be able to look on the other side and make sure it's not leaking. And that way, when you fill it up, you know everything on the other side is good to go. Number 8, S-traps instead of P-traps. S-traps are no longer allowed in modern plumbing codes because they can siphon water out of the trap, allowing sewer gases to enter the home. Now, the S-trap, the way it comes down and goes back up and back down, there's no vent there. And we talked about venting earlier. But when that water comes down and gets in that P-trap, once it goes up that top, that can create a vacuum that can actually suck the water out of that P-trap, and you're going to get sewer gases inside your house. And that's something nobody wants. Number 9, improper venting for fixtures. Fixtures without proper venting can drain slowly and lead to air pressure issues in the plumbing systems, resulting in gurgling or slow drains. Now, when you've got a slow drain there, it's either telling you you've got a clog issue somewhere or got one trying to happen because you're getting that air pressure in the line and it's not doing what it's supposed to do. So having them improperly vented can help cause this problem. So plumbers, make sure you vent everything like it's supposed to be done. I know we've talked about this twice now in a different area, but this really is that important. This video was sponsored by Leak Pro, leak-pro.com. If you're a plumbing company owner or you're a plumber and you want to learn how to improve your skills, your services, the value you bring to your customers each and every day, go to leak-pro.com, check out the training, check out the equipment, and it'll help you take care of your customers better. And number 10, undersized water supply lines. Using pipes that are too small for water supply can cause low water pressure, especially when multiple fixes are in use at the same time. Now, this one is a big deal to me because something that a lot of service plumbers are doing that I think they need to think about is if they're replacing a 1/2 inch copper line with PEX, they're still using 1/2 inch. But if you look at that fitting, it's a much smaller diameter. So you want to make sure that that's something you're not doing. Me, if I'm changing out a water line, I want to increase it one line size just to make sure that they're going to get plenty of flow. And I'm not going to install any restrictions that could mess them up. And if you love this video, I think you'll definitely like that one. Hi, Roger.